This is Battlefield 1. We're here on PlayStation 5 Pro. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So typically we'd look at the campaign and the multiplayer, but we're just gonna look at the multiplayer because I think that's mostly what people are interested in when it comes to these more modern battlefields. In the campaign, they're more like war stories, as to say, so they're smaller little segments, and they look great, they're well done, but yeah, I think the focus for the multiplayer here is genuinely what people dive into when they're taking a look at these, looks at games for. So yeah, the multiplayer experience here, large-scale World War action, where you get to use weapons of the time and get to see the skill and conflict of this great war that happened. And this one really does hold heavy on the idea that, like, lots of people died and nothing really stopped wars going forward, because it's supposed to be the war to end wars and all that stuff. I'm sure you some working idea of the history of all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so Battlefield 1, really well loved, great game, great experience. Offers a lot of different ways to play. So you do the war stories, which is your single player kind of stuff, which are little slices of life. That was continued with Battlefield 5 after this one, and it was something that they didn't do for Battlefield 4, because that one actually had a campaign structuring. Same with Battlefield Hardline. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of what that aspect of it is. And then for multiplayer, they had these grand operations, which was kind of like breakthrough, sort of segmented with almost like little bits of storytelling angle, as it was kind of like you push from one area to the next area to the next area to the next area, and it was sort of a overall story that they were kind of building. It was just supposed to give it a grander sense of scale if you sit there for hours doing like a large operation campaign of battle, if that makes sense. So anyways, here on the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's it's a dynamic 4K, but its threshold is 1800p. So what we're getting here should be like the maxed out resolution of like 1800p and 60 FPS. So yeah, because it's kind of like it's a little dynamic, and then it's kind of got like a forced upper and lower bounds. And yeah, so 60 FPS, so it's nice and smooth, actually like locked, it looks clean, runs well. It is checkerboard. That's how they, were able to hit those resolutions back in the day for like the Pro, the older Pro. And that's kind of what we get inherited here for the game on the PS5 Pro. Which, it still looks good, but definitely some of the original Pros limitations kind of like sneaking through a little bit, for sure, in comparison to like on Xbox, where they have like a native 4K going on and it's an actual resolution. Having more native dynamic resolutions would have been better for long-term visuals, but still it's a great looking game. It's a breathtaking experience if you've never played Battlefield 1. It's very good, and definitely something I would recommend playing. Now, it does seem on the PlayStation side of things that there aren't as many servers going on for this one, so you might find it a little harder to get matches. I was actually surprised, because I'm doing this kind of around the time I was doing Battlefield 4, just before this, both on PlayStation, and that one seems to have a lot more active and healthier of a multiplayer community. I guess there's other multiplayer playlists too, like we're doing, the operations here, but on the Xbox side of things, when you do operations for Battlefield 1, that's usually very healthy throughout the day. Full lobbies. Like, the lobbies are full that are here, but there aren't tons of them that have, like, full player counts. There are lots of players in them. It's just kind of an interesting kind of perspective to kind of be like, oh, okay. See what one's doing better than one. I'd love to do a cavalry charge, but not really getting that. Not really getting any teammates that are kind of alive either to spawn off of. But this one had some really well-designed maps and setups and conflicts. A genuinely impressive multiplayer experience. This one, I think they really hit the mark. What am I playing as? I'm not even... So I usually play as like a medic class, and I got like a different kind of gun, but... Yeah, what am I doing? Oh, I'm assaulting right now. I usually do the medic class, and then we get the little... like a single shot kind of thing, and... Yeah, you level up, you improve your class stuff, you have different weapons, and, you know... You're in some set things, you get used to stuff, and then... If you ever have to restart from multiplayer like I am here, you basically, like... You know, lose access to the things you're used to, which is kind of funny. I might just do the... Almost like, you know, assault class on this one, because I guess it doesn't matter too much for long term, but... It is neat to take a look at this, and kind of dive into it and talk about it a bit. So, yeah, you got your different classes, you got your large-scale conflict, a good variety of no man's land, kind of long stretches of not a whole lot going on here. But what was really cool is as the match progresses, there's a bit more, like, destruction in this one, kind of compared to the modern stuff. Our team is not breaking through at all. We are totally losing this this war. It's just kind of cool because you really do get to see like the fields of war get really marked in this one. You really do get that sense of like, you know, this place that looks okay, and by the end of your fight, the battlefield looks like stained with like big holes in the ground and lots of destructional things and little pits and buildings that have been like, you know, kind of like destroyed and shattered, and that in itself is really, really cool. Very well done. And this one also was one of the ones that had expansions, like multiplayer map expansions that you would pay for. I think this is one of the last Battlefields that did. Now it's all, you know, everything's live service where you just get stuff added to it to keep you playing. Our team, no progression at all. This is very disappointing. I might go to assault just to try to get some kills and stuff in here because we're like, they're holding us back. We might get like a last second kind of thing going on, but I'm not really seeing that at the moment. I don't think our team's got that kind of a push. So yeah, there are some like DLC expansion type map things that are actually really good. Like there's Revolution stuff, and like the whole Russian thing is actually kind of neat. Those fronts are really cool. Because you gotta remember, this is like an earlier war, so like the weaponry and tools you have, they're reminiscent of what we have, you know, in later wars, World War games you'd be used to for video games. But like they are a little, some of them are a little bit more basic and set up, but that still allows for things like a cavalry charge, which is quite cool and quite fun, and yeah, it's got some really, really cool stuff to it, you know, like more basic tanks, big blimps. It's very, very neat, the types of like weaponry that are here, and also when you do operations and you kind of fail, as you fail, your team actually gets, you know, when you're attacking, you get access to better tools, if that makes sense. Whoa, I am like way off here. that was bad. You can see that like it feels like you're in this huge, massive area of warfare. Battlefield always did a great job for that. Yeah, deserting, that's hilarious. We won't even get to see the rest of the map because their team is so bad. No, like, they really do give you, like, just a massive scope of, like, weapons, tools, and things to just, like, decimate the environment you're foes with, and you unlock more stuff you have access to, and... Yeah, it's neat what they did here. Very, very neat. Absolutely no cover trying to get over behind this trench, eh? Unbelievable. But it's a very good looking game. It's a very visually impressive game. It's one that's a lot of fun to play. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those very fondly remembered Battlefields long term. I think it already kind of is. I feel like they did very, very impressive things with the tech and the visuals and everything like that. Genuinely a great time. The combat's exciting, it's varied, you get all these different places to go to. Plays relatively smooth now, which I guess was an issue back in the day, as the frame rate wasn't totally smooth on PlayStation, I guess, which is a bit surprising. Oh, looks like we're gonna have to jump into another lobby because we got absolutely smashed here, which is a bit of a disappointment. Yep. Alright, we got ourselves a little bit of the Ballroom Blitz, which is actually a map I quite love. You get to see this palace of sorts just get absolutely shredded by the, you know, conflict going on here. Okay, that is ridiculously well set up there. Yeah, that's a ridiculous well set up encampment. Blasting down with that large gun. Oh, the blimps over there. Or we're on our last battalion? I keep joining these factions at their low points. Enemy hit but not killed. There's a lot of LMG usage out here, I gotta tell you. It's like they're all carrying this stuff. It's weird, it's like a different type of warfare here on the PlayStation for this game than on Xbox for like how these units use stuff. Oh, the Veil Guard's finally installed. That's good. That'll be fun after this. Anyways, Battlefield 1 really is a great time. If you've never played it, you know, it's a very, very rewarding, intense, gritty, combative experience. The conflicts of war were very, very well done here, well showcased. I love the somber, yet at times still triumphant attitude that's presented here between its gameplay and its music. There's so many, like, cool maps and locations for you to battle. Even the main set of maps, I think you will quite like. That'll be interesting for you, too, if you've never played this type of stuff. Find the roles you like to fiddle into in regards to, like, are you more of a medic? Are you an engineer? You know, like, what kind of combat do you do? What kind of weapons will you use out there on the battlefield? And then you get used to the vehicles and stuff, too. And the vehicles in this are kind of fun because they're not as highly focused. So when you play other Battlefield games, they're, like, infantry is a big part of Battlefield, but a lot of people really love using vehicles, and you get some people that are ridiculous with vehicles. This one, still a little bit too, but I do find that these games, like Battlefield 1 and like 5 a little bit too, a little less emphasis on the almighty power of an individual rocking like a plane or something and just dominating everyone. And I think that aspect of it is quite splendid. Like, it looks really good here on the Pro. It really does, but as I said, I am actually used to this running at a higher resolution, and I can really, personally, actually notice the difference. For sure, like, weirdly for sure. Like, it's very, very good, honestly. Like, it looks fine. Most people will think this is very beautiful, but I genuinely can notice the difference in the situation, which is funny, because in a lot of other games they don't really, but yeah. I think it's just, like, the clarity of it. Still a fine way to play, especially if you've never jumped into Battlefield. And the war stories are kind of cool, too. Like, they're not bad. Kind of neat little showcases of little situations in warfare. And I don't know, to me it would have been nice to have, like, a proper campaign. I know they get a lot of praise, the war stories. Fun little, like, slices of life and stuff, but for me, it would have been more like appreciated to actually have like a cohesive one set narrative that kind of like was a little bit more extensive that you could get into. But they foot the bill, you know, they give you a little bit of single player. The vast, like 99% of players aren't even gonna care about that. It's the multiplayer for these games. And you still can find some lobbies that are full, and there's still lots of people playing at the time of doing this. I'm sure that'll be the case for quite a while going forward. It is interesting that there's not as many, at least from my, you know, taking a look at this on PlayStation, I was expecting there'd be more servers, so a little surprised that this one doesn't hold as well. Like, I get the love for Battlefield 4, that makes complete sense to me, but this is a lot more recent and very, very well received for Battlefield, so it's peculiar to me to not see more server options. Unless it was just an off day or something. Wow, we were really holding that. Like, we really had that spot. Oh, it's a shame. This spot is so hard to take. The 3 areas here, it's like Because you get 2, and then the other team gets 1, and then it flips, and it is a genuinely hard map to actually take the positions on and hold them. What is with the obsession with LMGs in this? That's so weird to me. Like, the other team, they're all just rocking them. Like, I get that it gives you some firepower, but yeah, I'm not used to this game doing that kind of approach of conflict, which is neat. But regardless, you should definitely try this Battlefield out if you've never played it. It's still really, really fun. If you're revisiting it, you know, obviously it's similar, I would imagine, to what you've largely been playing it with recently, and realistically, it's like, you know, you're not going to get much upper bounds over PS5, like the base PS5 for this game. It's still going to look great and be pretty maxed out for what it visually can do. Same with performance and stuff like that, so it's not like a wildly different improvement, but it was something I wanted to dive into and take a look at and showcase because I enjoy the Battlefield games, and it's always nice to have a little bit of a excuse to revisit these. I really wish I had a medic class going on, so I kind of want this gun, but with a medic. I am used to it, though, on the Xbox side of things. I do the medic class with like a more of like a single shot kind of like rifle thing going on. It's like, I guess I could customize, but yeah, I don't have the war bands. I don't have the unlocks for any of this stuff. That's the problem. You gotta earn things, right? And it's like, so used to just having everything available. It's also funny to think of this stuff from before cross progression. Cross progression's not even super popular and used yet, but it definitely does make hopping across platforms to cover them like this a lot simpler. Also makes platform hopping a lot easier if all your saves and stuff carry across. And I think we'll see that become more and more common down the road, that sort of thing exists. Especially for these like larger AAA experiences, right? Which I think the Battlefield series still falls into. Yeah, it's actually been cool. It's like this week I just kind of, well, like really over the last few days, I've just kind of been bopping along the different Battlefield games on PlayStation, just kind of taking a look at them all. Coming on hot off the heels of Battlefield 4 in 2042. There's definitely a bit of magic to this formula of combat and shooter action. They have really good stuff here. They really genuinely do. So it'll be interesting to see how this franchise reinvents itself going forward and see if I can like hit these heights again. I thought I was gonna get that guy. I was popping headshots at him. Because I think this was actually peak for sales, was like Battlefield 1, if I'm remembering total sales numbers correctly. We lost again. I keep joining these teams where it's just colossal failure. How could this happen again? Well, at least we get to show off this mighty map. This one is really well loved. You just literally fight on hills the entire time. A lot of hill running. Run up hills, run down hills, get shot from hills, shoot people up on the top of hills. Montegrappa. It's actually really awesome. Kind of wondering what the actual favorite of maps are for people in this game. Like, I assume it's this one just based on the sheer number of people that always just love this map. Like, the map, like, the amount it, like, shows up in rotation, stuff like that. It's kind of amazing. The Battlefield 1, the battle of the ages, especially since it's an era of warfare we rarely see depicted in video games. It's, yeah, always a pleasure to dive back into this one and check it out. And it's nice when I get to do streams of it, but, you know, we stream it a little less these days just because, you know, a little less popular, a little less played, and, bit of a shame because it's still an absolutely beast of a Battlefield game, as to say. Very, very enjoyable, and, yeah, hope you enjoyed this, like, revisit to it.